Hi, back at you with some Compressinator. This time I am debugging the CLI. You can see that in the bottom right here. We've got Compressinator CLI. This is the thread view, and I specified, and we can actually see that here. Options, debugging. No, wrong window. It has to be debug, Compressinator debug. Here, so we're compressinating BC6H Shanghai to result.dds with one thread. And you can see here that we actually do have that one thread. It's right here. This one thread. But there's another thread over here. This is what I'm saying, right? There are two threads here which are just like mystery threads. Like who knows what they're doing. That's how we get up to 4 threads. So if you're seeing those thread numbers being wrong, they're still correct. It's just there's more threads hiding. So at least that bug's fixed. And you'll see that if you go back through the call, this here is like where it's gone to get to the BC6H code that we're looking at. You can see that we start off life in process command line, and this comes from main, right? So they do a bunch of like command line parsing, way more than you should be doing in various locations, and then you end up at convert MIP texture. So our entry point into everything that is to do with like the problem here is convert MIP texture. Now you see convert MIP texture goes to convert texture. Convert texture goes to codec compress texture. And that's where the difference happens. We don't go through the normal location to encode a BC6H image. We go through this like codec system. I do actually like I like this code system a little bit better. It's more object orientated. There's a lot more sort of checks and balances about what's going on. But you can see that it's a different path, and that's what actually ends us up at here, M encoder compress block, compress block. Yeah, and you'll see that here just looking through the block and processing just a set block, whereas over in compressinator.net, which I have open in another tab, you'll see there's a different path. So over in compressinator.net, I've loaded it up again, and compressinator goes through comp process texture. And if you look, comp process texture goes through comp compress texture, which is not comp convert texture. So for some reason, comp process texture goes to comp framework, that goes to compute base, and the compute base goes through and falls all the way down to BC6H encoder class, and here, where there's a problem. So that's the reason why everything's different. It's because they're using two different compression formats. What I need to do now is validate which one Resonite uses, and then double check, because I think it's the CLI one that it's using, and then figure out why process texture doesn't use that. I have no idea. Like, there are two separate copies of the BC6H codec, and I believe there are even more, because there are even GPU related ones that use shaders. So what they do is they trick the GPU that's meant to do geometry based maths into doing compression based maths, and they do that using shaders and files. So you can look in the source files of Compressinator, you'll see shaders somewhere. So there's like potentially like 3 different mechanisms that will encode this stuff in a way that just like doesn't make sense to me as a developer coming in here. I've never really understood that as well. Like in our let me see if I've got, yeah, like in our compressinator.net library, if we go into compressinator.native and then Windows, we've always needed to have comp compressinator and comp framework, and I've never really understood why. Like, why aren't those just one DLL? So I now have to trace this through and figure out like where does the path fork and what actually are these, right? So if you go to CCPU HPC, we're here, CCU HPC. I can actually close this modules window at the top now. So it's a CPU compute. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. CPU compute, HPC. Don't know what that means. High performance codec? I'm just guessing at that point. But anyway, go back over to the CLI. Where are we? We are in, yeah, CC codec. Like, what's the difference between CC codec, BC6H, and where are we over here? Over here we are in, yeah, look, over here we don't enter into BC6H stuff. We enter via CCPHPU, CCPU, whatever the hell that means. See, we go in via there, we go into compressed block here. Whereas over here, we go through a codec file. And it looks like the codec file initializes the library. You see this, like, even having asserts, right? It's like, hey, the buffers have to be the same size or we can't compress them. If we don't know, like, you know, if the buffers don't make sense and they're not equal, also, like, we don't know. We can't do that. It's like a lot simpler. And this is also where it goes through like the opt-quanda stuff. This is where we were talking about inequality for a while ago. You see, this is 0.5. Is quality used over here somewhere? Let's take a look. So it'll come in via kernel options, because kernel options should have that there. Yeah, F quality. So kernel options is passed down to compressed texture. Compressed texture goes here, and we give it to the compute base. Yep, okay, so the compute base gets it. And then here, this encode thread block already isn't using the quality parameter. So here's options, which has that quality in it again. F quality. So if we don't see a call to F quality, oh, here it is. Oh. If this is saying, actually, this is if deft out, I think, because it's gray. It's like, hey, this isn't applied. If the F quality is greater than 11, 0.11, then make an encoder using M plugin compute. Otherwise, we go down here and we do, yeah, this is where I found that bug. And here it creates its encoder thread pool. Actually, let's take a look at how many threads you guys have got. Okay, more. Well, that's .NET for you. Yeah, so you see here's .NET thread pool, .NET Kenta, .NET. This is like all .NET over here. Whereas up here, we've got going through there. Better really wants to go out, so we're going to have to go out now. I've just got to this point. Like, I had to wake up. I had to wait until, like, my brain was ready to work. And then I had an issue whereby I had to, like, rebuild my CLI files to get this level of detail. Like, if you tried, it might take you a little while sooner because you're familiar with it. But, like, to get to this level of detail, well, I've got, like, all the threads running in a visual diagram, took a long time. Anyway, I got that all set up. I'm ready to figure out what the problem is. And now Feta demands that they go out. Of course, that's the agreement that I had when I adopted him, and he takes priority. So I'm going to take Feta for a walk. I'm not going to stop these debuggers, though. I need these debuggers to be exactly where they are when I get back.